Brewster here, new episode of Soloing Secrets, and this is Peter Green, and I've had some requests to feature more of Peter Green's music, this late great legendary icon of British blues rock. And I did feature Peter in a Chordplay episode a couple years ago, and I did make a Mick Taylor Soloing Secrets about a month ago, and in that lesson, I said that Peter Green was going to be next. Well, I lied. It was actually Dick Dale next, but now it's Peter's turn. Definitely an essential blues rock icon. His career started around 1961. He joined forces with John Mayall's Bluesbreakers in 1965 and followed Eric Clapton in that band. Left the group, helped form Fleetwood Mac in 1967, left Fleetwood Mac in 1970, became a solo artist. Then he started to kind of fall out of the limelight. He had some health problems and drug problems. He did issue another, solo album in 1979 and then continued. Various side projects, session appearances, additional solo albums. Definitely, Peter Green is an absolute legend of the guitar. And speaking of John Mayall's Bluesbreakers, I did mention this in the Mick Taylor Soloing Secrets about a month ago, but these three albums changed blues rock music forever. And definitely, Eric Clapton, Peter Green, and Mick Taylor, that changed the game right here. And there's so much history surrounding Peter Green and his music. Of course, there's connections with Carlos Santana and Black Magic Woman, but most people point to his historic Greenie Les Paul, the 1959 Gibson Les Paul Standard that he used, eventually got rid of it. Gary Moore picked it up and used it for many years, and then Gary got rid of it. It changed hands a couple times, and then eventually Kirk Hammett actually owns Greenie, the historic Peter Green Les Paul. And much like we've done in other episodes in the Soloing Secret series, when you're checking out a certain player, it's always a great idea to scope out their influences, which reveals certain things that pop up in their music, techniques, and playing habits and licks and stuff. And with Peter, it's really interesting. It's a big batch of authentic blues. Robert Johnson and B.B. King and Freddie King and Otis Rush and people like that. But here's Peter Green's elusive musical influences. And here's an image with some of the people that Peter Green worked with, either in bands or recording sessions or guest appearances, live performances and stuff like that. And there's a lot more where this came from, but here's a good sample of some of the musicians and bands where you can hear Peter Green play. And as far as Peter Green's actual soloing secrets, the things he typically would do with a guitar in his hands, and there's a lot here. Of course, authentic and modified blues phrasing, pentatonic scales, various pentatonics. Also modal flavors. He would dip into these modal tonalities and kind of weave between pentatonic and modal scales. Expressive bending, expressive motive vibrato, call and response phrasing. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Slide guitar. But here's Peter Green's soloing secrets. So the music featured in this episode actually came from 4 Peter Green related albums. That includes A Hard Road from John Mayall, also 2 Fleetwood Mac albums, and his solo album In the Skies. So just a heads up. Here we go. Or with the opening, that's Someday After a While You'll Be Sorry, a classic Freddie King song. It appears on A Hard Road from John Mayall and the Bluesbreakers. You can also hear it on Eric Clapton's From the Cradle album, and I did recently talk about that in Clapton's 3 for All, about a week or 2 ago. But great song, great opening there. And I didn't use my looper, right? Like the clone looper. I basically just played it by myself because you really don't need the chords or progression or the backing behind you. You can hear it with just the solo. Really expressive, like this. So it's a blues in F, right? And he's grabbing the C, that D note with a little bit of vibrato, that F and G, and then bend that G to A. Like that. And then bend and release on that G, F to that D note. And then I really love this lick. Slide into this A. And Peter did a lot of that, where he would outline like chords and he would grab like part of an arpeggio or part of the chord right there. So you're sliding in that A, C, B flat, A, and then you're catching that F, and then you're hopping over and grabbing that C at the end. Really tasty. And then he's doing this quick little hammer on between that B flat and C 3 times. And then he slides that G sharp into that A and then catches this F note. Like that. Really, really cool. And then after that slide, from that A into that F note, then you hear this, it's basically a double stop. Grab that B flat and that E flat, and you're going to hammer on that F, or actually he's pulling it off. Like that. So you hear the double stop first, and then it's single notes, like that. And then, so after that double stop is kind of pulled off, and then you're going to do a pull off right there, that B flat to A flat to that F. And then you're going to grab that B flat, F, B flat, and then you're going to slide that A flat into that A, like that. So you're doing this one more time there. And I love the kind of finesse happening there with the notes. He's just grabbing a handful of notes, but he's targeting and phrasing with the notes. Really expressive. And then he ends like that, grabbing that A, grabbing that C note right there, and then end on that C. He's kind of doing an octave there, a high C, then a low one. But all the way through that lead, that's really, really cool. Stuff there. Next up's the opening of the solo from the song Hit the Highway. This is also from the John Mayall album Hard Road, and it's a blues in D, and we're basically using the middle selection now on the Les Paul. Something like this bouncy kind of blues. Something like that. One more time. So think D minor pentatonic right there. And it's a bouncy, blues in D, D7. And that first lick, you hear this. And it's really just 3 notes, but there's so much happening with those 3 notes. Some smeared bending and just kind of weaving between them. And then you're doing this. Kind of almost doing the same kind of lick, but then at the end you're going to slide that F to F sharp, something like that. So it's like a call and response phrase there. And then after that, then you're doing this. And I love that. Double stop there, that A and D note. Then you're going to grab that B. And then you're going to end on that F note. And then you're going to finish up with that D. And then you're kind of smear bending that F again. Like that. So all together right there. Really tasty stuff there. Okay, next up are some targeted licks from the song The Supernatural. This is also from the John Mayall album A Hard Road, and it's an instrumental. And you can really hear Peter just shine on the song. It's in D minor, neck pickup on the Les Paul here. Like this really kind of slow, moody kind of song. And you hear this targeted lick in that song right there. One more time. And that's over D minor, right? And we're going to do another targeted lick over the G minor chord when it goes to the 4 chord. But that's over D minor right there. So think, D minor pentatonic. And then, so it's all right there like on the B, G, and D string. Then he hops to the high E at the end. And then then you hear it change to G minor, the 4 chord. And Peter excelled at this, targeted licks and phrases over the progression. You'll hear this lick later in the song. And he loved doing that kind of stuff right there. That's over G minor, keep in mind. And we're doing this. And he's targeting that B flat in his lick, which matches, you know, over that G minor chord perfectly right there. So, and then some examples of some of Peter's targeted licks and phrases. Really cool stuff. Next up are a handful of licks from the song Slabo Day. This is from Peter's solo album In the Skies, and this is an A minor neck pickup on the Les Paul here. And this is interesting because it's the same lick played in different positions and different octaves too. And it starts like this. Well, it doesn't start like this, but the lick is right here. Right? Just think A minor pentatonic right there. And we're doing this. So that D, E, G, A, C, G, A, right? And then later in the song, you hear Peter answer that with, it's almost the same lick. Right there. He basically does that D to E, lands on that G and kind of holds it, then C to G, G to A. Like that. And then later in the song, you hear another version of this lick where he slides that D to E there on the G string, then catches, you know, that G to C on the B and the high E, and then ends that G to A. Like that. And then way later in the song, near the end, you hear him go really high up here. And he keeps going, like, I think he may even get like way up into there too. But he does it right there. And it's just interesting to see the same lick played in the same song, you know, like in different ways. You know, really interesting. Okay, next up's this really interesting and expressive slide. This takes place in the song A Fool No More, and this is also Peter Green's solo album In the Skies. And at the beginning, there's a guitar that strums an A minor chord that's real warm and bassy, you know, probably neck pickup. And then this lick is actually bright and, you know, bridge pickup. And it's something like this. One more time. And it has this really exotic, almost Middle Eastern kind of flavor, even though it's technically just E minor pentatonic. It's just the quirky sliding and stuff that's going on. Hammer on from D to E and add vibrato on the E. Then you want to shift slide that E to G and then G to A. Right? And then you're going to basically shift slide this G back to E, back to D. Right? Then you're going to basically shift slide this E to G, and then a hammer on pull off, E, G, E, shift slide back to D, and then ends on that final E note. I think it's a hammer on at the end, like that. So really interesting here. Like that. And he's not really picking very much. He just picks a few notes in there. And it's really expressive and really different too. Cool lick. Okay, next up's the opening to I Loved Another Woman. This is from the first Fleetwood Mac album. Unpopular opinion that I have here. I really only liked Fleetwood Mac when Peter Green was involved. No offense to the other incarnation, I know they were way more popular without Peter, but give me that dirty, greasy blues rock. I love it. And this is in D minor, definitely neck pickup here, and it's a bending workout like this. Something like that. So D minor pentatonic, and he's basically starting with this bending workout. So you're going to catch this G, bend that to A, and then grab the C note there on the B string. And you're going to do that G bend to A, grab the C note, release that G bend, and then it's an F note. Then you're going to grab that C again and bend it to D. Right, so we're going to a high D right there. Then the second phrase is exactly the same, except now we're going to end on a lower D right there. Now do the first phrase again. And this is definitely a kind of a sneaky way that Peter would, kind of dip outside the pentatonic and imply, at least some modal kind of flavorings, or at least go beyond pentatonic scales. So think D minor pentatonic, but we're going to pick up this E note, which is the 9th of D, right? Like that. He loved doing stuff like that. And it's D minor pentatonic, but that A, or that E rather, that E note's kind of adding some additional flavor there. And then he starts doing this between that A and that C note. And he definitely used that phrase a lot. And then at the very end, like a D minor, like kind of the top part of that D minor triad there. Okay, last but not least is the song Coming Your Way. This is from the Fleetwood Mac album Then Play On, which is on the wall right there. Definitely a classic album. And this is really interesting. It's harmonized, bluesy bending. So there's two guitar parts, and I'm going to use the MXR clone looper to kind of help me out here. But it's in B minor, neck pickup for sure. And the first guitar part's basically doing this. Something like that. So there's two different, parts right there for the first guitar part. Think B minor pentatonic. And that first lick he's doing. So bend that E to F sharp, grab that G sharp, grab that A, and then bend it to B. And then, so right there you're gonna do a bend and release on that A, like the second part of that lick. The first part's that. And then the second part, you're doing, so you're going to bend and release that A, grab that G sharp, and then you want to bend that E to F sharp right there. So there's the first half. Then the second half of the first guitar part's this. So right there, we're bending that A to B, grab that G sharp right there, and then you're going to do a half step bend on that C sharp. And then do a bend and release, a half step on that C sharp. Grab that B, then grab that A and bend that to B. So let me run through both of those parts right there. Guitar 1, the first half. The second half. Alright, now for the second guitar part, we're basically starting with this. Alright, so right there, and that B, D, E, and then bend that E to F sharp. And then do a bend and release on that E, D, and then end on that B. Play that twice in a row. Right? And then you hear this is really cool. So when the first guitar went high, the second guitar is going low. Now you put all that together, guitar 1 and guitar 2, and you've got this. Really cool stuff there. Both guitars coming together and creating this kind of bluesy bending harmony guitar workout. So cool. All right, that's going to wrap this episode of Soloing Secrets with this look at Peter Green. Definitely an absolute icon, essential British blues rock guitarist. I mean, definitely. And he followed Eric Clapton in John Mayall's Bluesbreakers. I mean, definitely, Clapton's Bluesbreaker album definitely changed everything. And then Peter Green, literally, he was like 18, I think, when he joined forces with John Mayall. Can you imagine the pressure of being an 18-year-old and you're literally influenced by Eric Clapton because he definitely loved Clapton, but you're filling his void or you're filling his shoes in a way. And I just couldn't imagine like being an 18-year-old, like say, like when I was 18, like filling in for Eddie Van Halen or something. It's like what? I mean, that would just be mind blowing. You know, it's like who am I replacing here? And with Peter, it was Eric Clapton. He only appeared on that one John Mayall album, and then immediately formed, Fleetwood Mac. And like I just admitted, I do prefer Fleetwood Mac with Peter Green. No offense to Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, but it was a different band. Like after Peter Green, they turned into like this kind of fizzy pop band or something. It's like no, they were a like hardcore blues band, before that. And that's what I like. I mean, I'm not really that into fizzy pop stuff. Sorry. But definitely sorely missed. It was a big loss when he passed away back in 2020. And I wanted to put this together just a further, additional tribute to Peter Green. The Chordplay was good, but the Soloing Secrets, even dived a little bit deeper into his style. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to Nail Lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content and material. Thank you.